early on, there was a lot of change in my life, and I really didn't know how to deal with it. When I was 2 or 3, my parents divorced. She remarries this guy who is extremely abusive. And after that, so happy that we escaped with our lives. So I was very rebellious. As I look back on, I think I was very angry. I was 15 years old and pregnant. It was a total recipe for disaster for me. And I was determined to not get any handouts. I didn't want to go on public assistance. I begged for a job. He gave me that job. I was determined to make up for the mistake that I made. Hello, hi, Lisa Jones here to tell you a little bit about my story. When I was a girl, of course, I was born to military parents, and my parents were young. A little bit later, I guess when I was 2 or 3, my parents divorced. I adored my dad, and I missed him often. So later on, my mother remarries, and she remarries this guy who is extremely abusive. And guess what? We left there too. So early on, there was a lot of change in my life, and I really didn't know how to deal with it. And then I thought I was, of course, fine from all that. We moved back to our hometown, and we're living with my grandfather, and I think I'm totally fine after that. So happy that we escaped with our lives. It was a serious situation. And so later, when I joined high school, by the time I joined junior high school, I think it was about the 6th grade, I noticed that I was drawn towards older children or older teenagers, kids that were already in college. Some of them not in college, some of them actually grown, some of them in high school, as someone in junior high school. So I was very rebellious, and I really didn't listen to what my mother was telling me, because I think as I look back on, I think I was very angry. Well, it was a total recipe for disaster for me. I started to hang out. I started to climb out of my window, and my mother thought I was sleeping. And I used to hang out with the older kids. Well, a little bit later, guess what happens? All of my friends have boyfriends. All of my friends, kiss their boyfriends and do things that my mother told me. She said, Lisa, if you start to kiss, other things will happen. And so I just still didn't listen. I got my first boyfriend, and I just thought I was, I felt like a grown-up because I had my first boyfriend. Well, believe it or not, after a while, he talked me into having relations with him, and I slept with him. And guess what? I got pregnant. Yes, I was 15 years old and pregnant. 15 years old and pregnant because I didn't listen. But there was always a determination in me. Even when I made a mistake, I wanted to own my mistake. I wanted to overcome what I did. I knew that I had put my mother in great distress. And I just went up to her and I told her, I said, Mom, I think I'm pregnant. Boom. Most people would hide it. I had friends that was hiding it from their moms, but not me. I said, I want to have the baby. I'm going to go forward with this. My mother had hopes and dreams for me, possibly to go to school, just to survive at that point, and to be a productive citizen of the United States of America, but because I was just so rebellious. And so going to high school, I had gone into high school, then I think I was in the 9th grade at this point, going to school pregnant, sitting in the desk sideways while all the kids looked at me. And they looked at me and they said, I don't know what I would do if I was you. And I said, well, you guys did the same thing that I did, but you didn't get caught with yours. And, I was very angry. Of course, later on, in October of the school year, I had the baby. And beautiful little girl. I didn't know, how to be a mom. I had people around to help me, but my mother worked often and she couldn't take off to take care of a baby. So guess what? I had to sit the rest of the school year out. But in my mind, I was determined to keep school a part of me. And I was determined to not get any handouts. Now, meanwhile, my friends around me, hey, they got checks from the United States government, something that we call welfare. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to go on public assistance. And so I begged Harry Weisberg, I remember his name, for a job. And I was every bit of 16 years old. My daughter was an infant, and I begged for a job. He gave me that job. He eventually trusted me to write out his checks and to pay his bills and to run customer service for him. I had a real knack for leadership. I had a real knack for being determined in my resolve. I was determined to make up for the mistake that I made. Well, the saga doesn't end there. Later, my mother and I got into a big argument, and of course, I had a temper then, and so my mother said, okay, if you don't want to listen, hit the road. And that was probably the best thing that she could do for me, but at the time I was totally angry. Hit the road. I took a black plastic bag, put my clothes in it, and had my baby, who was a toddler then. We were walking down the street as I called a friend to come and get us. So at almost 17 years old, I didn't have a place to stay. I called my girlfriend, Michelle, who was on public assistance, and she lived in the hood. If you know, I don't know if you know what that is in America, but she lived in the hood. And guess what? All her friends or whatever hung out at their house, smoking weed and doing everything, playing cards all night. But I was determined to still go to work. And she used to tease me because I didn't want to get public assistance for food. And I said, I'm going to work. Well, how are you going to go to work, Lisa, and have this baby and go to school? How will you do that? Well, guess what? Some nights I crawled in bed at 11 or 12. I asked the father's mother, my baby's dad's mother, rather, to keep my child, if she would babysit. And she said she would. And so, it was long nights, long days of me having one and sometimes two jobs at the time because I was determined to make a life for us. I decided to, go on with my career, and I started out in furniture. And I climbed with different furniture stores, and then eventually I got with Fortune 500 company, going to school. I got with the Fortune 500 company, and I began to progress from there. I was a leader of 25 people at 24 years old, and I did not stop there until I was making six figures. So I'm going to let you know that you can do anything that you put your mind to. What it takes is determination. What it takes is resolve. And never, ever, ever let a bad mistake stop your destiny. No matter how bad it is, have the right mindset, have a positive attitude, and have determination, and be willing to do the work. Lisa Jones here. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Tell us what you think about this video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.